What was the reason behind Travis's attempt at Palantine's life? This question has left audiences scratching their heads after watching Taxi Driver, a movie often hailed as a masterpiece of American cinema. But, true as this may be, can you zero in on Travis's motives? Why did he try to kill Palantine? Let's take a closer look at Taxi Driver and find out. Martin Scorsese's 1976 psychological thriller, Taxi Driver, starring Robert De Niro as the tormented anti-hero protagonist, Travis Bickle, is a dark and disturbing portrayal of the underbelly of New York City. It's a searing indictment of the city's societal decay, corruption, and violence, seen through the eyes of a Vietnam War veteran suffering from PTSD and insomnia. It is replete with graphic violence and provides raw insight into the mental illness. The film also leaves you wondering what motivated Travis to attempt an assassination on Palantine. What are the possible motives behind Travis's attempt on the senator's life? Travis is a Vietnam War veteran and an insomniac who finds solace in driving his taxi through New York City streets. As he drives around the city, he encounters more violence and filth, building within an intense hatred for the city and the reasons behind it. Senator Palantine. Travis thinks only he himself can put an end to the city's degradation. His mental state is already fragile, and his obsession with the senator only adds to his delusions of grandeur. When Travis starts buying guns and planning his vigilante crusade, he begins attending rallies held by Palantine. It's clear that he's scoping out the security at these events, with the intention of carrying out a political assassination. However, it's never explicitly stated in the film why Travis wants to kill Palantine. How did the assassination attempt affect Travis's life? Caving into his dark obsession and hatred leads only to his own demise. The attempt at the senator's life is a critical point of the film. His hatred for the politician and his disillusionment with the system only fuels his anger. The attempt on Palantine's life ultimately fails, but it sets the stage for the violent and bloody climax of the film, where Travis takes matters into his own hands and becomes a vigilante of sorts. But his attempt was not the only factor that led to his downfall, as his obsession with the sweet-faced young woman also plays a significant role in his deteriorating mental state. Travis's infatuation with Betsy, a campaign staffer for Senator Palantine portrayed by Sybil Shepherd, adds fuel to the fire. He becomes fixated on her, and his crude attempts to win her over, such as taking her to a pornographic movie, only serve to push her further away, further fueling his sense of rejection and resentment, a significant impact on his already fragile mental state. This all-consuming fixation drives him towards violence and despair, and Travis goes clear over the edge. Throughout the film, Travis becomes increasingly obsessed with the idea of cleaning up the city's streets and sees himself as kind of a lone crusader fighting against the growing filth. He purchases guns and trains himself in marksmanship, and eventually plans a violent attack on the brothel where the underage prostitute, another one of his obsessions, is being held. As Travis's mental state continues to decline, he becomes increasingly disillusioned with the world around him and comes to see Palantine as a symbol of the corrupt political system he despises. Senator Palantine's political views serve as a symbol of opposition to Travis's worldview. Palantine's promises of political change and reform are met with skepticism and rejection, and make the taxi driver see him as just another politician making empty promises. Palantine's campaign, with its promises of change and reform, only serves to further highlight Travis's disillusionment and sense of hopelessness. Palantine also serves as a symbolic representation of the society that rejected Travis, a war veteran. As an established politician, Palantine represents the very system that Travis feels has failed them all. His campaign represents the status quo, which Travis sees as corrupt and depraved. But it all comes back to Betsy. Betsy's connection to Palantine is a crucial factor in Travis's vendetta against the senator. Travis becomes convinced that Palantine is corrupt and represents everything that Travis hates about the political system. His obsession with Betsy leads him to believe that Palantine is a threat to her, and his attempt on the senator's life is ultimately an attempt to protect her from the corrupt system that he feels has failed the people of New York. He becomes increasingly obsessed with Palantine after learning that he is connected to Betsy. This fixation becomes a central driver of Travis's descent into madness, as he becomes increasingly fixated on the idea of assassinating the senator. The relationship between Betsy and Palantine is significant to Travis's mental state, because it also represents the world that he can never truly belong to. Betsy is part of the elite class that Palantine represents, a world that Travis sees as corrupt and depraved. His fixation on Palantine, therefore, becomes a way for Travis to assert his own sense of power and control over this world that he feels so alienated from. and his attempt on the senator's life becomes a way for him to lash out against the societal forces that had rejected him. Travis's pursuit of the senator becomes a way for him to assert his own sense of masculinity and power in a world that he feels has emasculated him. Taxi Driver remains an American classic for its stunning visuals and exceptional performances, its gritty atmosphere and intense themes. A key theme is the idea of taking the law into one's own hands and its disastrous consequences, making the film a powerful commentary on a subject that was as relevant in the 70s as it is today. By presenting Travis's actions as misguided and ultimately futile, the film offers a cautionary tale about vigilante justice. What do you think could have prevented this from happening? How would you have helped a man like Travis given such a mental state?